here with one of our awesome white belts, John Kallo. Thank you so much for making the time. I always love connecting with our students and hearing their stories and people start jiu-jitsu at different parts of different moments of their life, and it's great to get perspective on all of it. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
For coming up and
Pleasure.
hanging out. Yeah. So tell me about yourself. What made you want to get into jiu-jitsu? What made you want to
jiu-jitsu? When I was younger, I did martial arts for a long time. And then my instructor at the time was doing a lot of refereeing, full contact, kickboxing back like in the 80s and 90s. And then he was going all over. And then he said that there's going to be this new sport coming out. At the time, it was the UFC #1, like the first one. It's going to be a free-for-all. So it was pretty interesting, and I remember watching it, the first UFC.
This is like early 90s,
it was like
right?
94, 95, somewhere around that time. And one of the guys that trained with us, I did Kempo under that instructor. He had said, "Hey man, there's this place that I found, mind you, there's no internet. Right. There's no social media.
Yeah.
This is new.
Yeah.
Who knew what jiu-jitsu was?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, that guy that just fought. There's this guy out there. Apparently, he's like, first cousin of, one of the Gracies. His name's Jean-Jacques Machado. He's got a school out in Reseda. We should go check it out." And I was like, "Yeah, for sure. Let's go."
Was he there already in the 90s?
He was there in Reseda. He had a school.
Okay.
And I don't know how many are the other brothers because I only met him. But he had a school out in Reseda, I think off of Wilbur. It was like in an industrial zone. So like next door was like, stuff that would make auto parts or whatnot.
Yeah. That's how all the schools, all the jiu-jitsu schools were in back in those days.
And
next to mechanic shop.
We showed
warehouse.
up, and it was a small place. They probably had AC, but the AC was never on. It was extremely hot inside. He's like, "We're gonna do it old school, like we did back home in Brazil." I was 16 at the time. So they're all adults. Mainly,
wow, 16.
Yeah, mainly white belts, a couple of blue belts. I maybe saw one brown belt, one purple belt who had, trained for the longest with him.
Brazilian guys, right?
And it was fun. The only thing is I couldn't afford it at the time. Back in 94, it was $20 a class. So...
Which was in our money now, like $80 probably, right?
80, but $20 back then. I drove a Chevy Blazer, so I was able to fill up my gas tank, buy 2 movie tickets at the AMC theater, and then go to Fuddruckers on a date with my high school sweetheart for $20.
For $20, yeah. So it's more like $100, right?
So
today's money.
So it was a lot.
$100 for a drop-in class.
And that was just one class.
Yeah.
If you wanted to go 4 days a week, and I'm 16,
Yeah.
Where do I get this money from? So I used to work with my dad. My father was an electrician. He had his own company. And on the weekends, I'd work with him. So I just rake up all the money I had and try to go, once a week. But because it was expensive, sometimes I had to take like a span of 2-3 months off. And I think I did it for like maybe 2-3 years. But if you had to add up like how many classes do you have, like, if you were to log in, to probably be like 2-3 months worth of training. And I really enjoyed it. And I remember him saying, Jean-Jacques was like, I see a lot of potential in you. I think you should compete. They had an in-house tournament with the brothers at Torrance High School. So it was like whoever had their school, they brought all their students. And in the very first tournament, blew out my knee.
Oh man!
Yeah, I went up against a wrestler. Don't know what move he was doing, but he was grabbing my leg and trying to like pull me back, and I just didn't want to, go on my back.
Yeah.
And the more I resisted, it just tore, and ended up just tapping out and telling him I can't continue. The first fight, it went quick. I think I got like an arm bar, and then because there was 4 of us, and then the second one, don't know what happened, but I lost because I tore my knee out, and that was it. That was the last day I saw him. Never went back, and because I had my injury for a long time, and it took like I didn't have medical insurance at the time, and it took like maybe a year and a half just to be able to like walk on the machines and run and whatnot. So.
Yeah.
But that's how I started in jiu-jitsu, and
you never stopped thinking about it.
I did for a
You did.
while. Just different things in life that
Well,
happened. Just
you know, some people like Joe, right? Vegan Joe, Professor Joe. He stopped.
Yeah.
Well, he had a brain thing,
Mm.
and so he stopped, but he never stopped thinking about it. That's why I kind of said that. Just thought about him. He just never stopped thinking about it. He's like, man, I want to do this. I want to do this, and then fast forward, he met another doctor,
Mm.
and the doctor said you can possibly do this again.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, oh, really? I can possibly do this again? By when? Or what do I need to do?
Mm-hmm.
And then, sure enough, it was like 10 years that passed, or maybe more, like 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they finally was able to come in again and train.
Yeah, no, I had just put it to the side. I knew I really liked it, wanted to do it, see how far I can get with it.
Did you stop training in the Kempo
in
and
martial
everything?
arts as well? Yeah, I
Okay.
started when I was 9. I did it till I was 18.
Gotcha.
I used to compete in that, like point fighting and whatnot. Went all over. And then after that, even with the Kempo, I had to stop because of my injury. I was in college at the time, doing my thing.
Okay.
In college,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
10
yeah.
years, just
Yeah,
being
yeah.
a kid. And then in my 30s, just different things happened, and it was more priority of the family and whatnot. And now I'm in a position where, I have time, and what am I going to do with myself, And I said, I think it's time to finish what you started. And, my niece, Andrea, is the one that started jiu-jitsu here. They were looking for a jiu-jitsu school, or they were looking for a martial arts school. And they said, hey, we want to put her in some type of martial arts. What do you think we should do? I said jiu-jitsu all the way. And then they're like, well, where are we going to go? I said, honestly, I don't think there's really one bad place to go. I just think it should be somewhere close to your home and school and whatnot. And so we're from where they live and where she goes to school, you're right in the middle. And little did I know, you had also trained one of my lifetime friends when I was younger. So it just worked out. So she was. But
did you grow up in Hollywood?
I grew up in Van Nuys.
Van Nuys, and that's where Luis grew up as well.
He grew up in Hollywood.
Hollywood, okay.
Yeah. His father's was Hungarian. My father was Hungarian, and many of them that came here, they escaped communism and whatnot. So when they came here, I think they met at a bank, and my father's check, he could see his last name Kallo. So the guy asked him, "Are you Hungarian?" That's how they started talking, and then they became friends. And when we were born, we grew up together.
Oh wow!
So that's how Louis Shandor and I.
Shout out to Luis. I love Luis. When he's one of the first students in Hollywood. With Anthony and a bunch of the guys from Hollywood, and competed and
No, so it was just like let's sign up my niece here, and we would take turns between my sister and my brother-in-law, bringing her to the class, and at the time we just had some other responsibilities to take care of at the house with the family. So we would alternate, and, I didn't think about training. I just knew that I wanted, to be here for her and support her and whatnot. And then, then she started competing, and, she's going through her phase with competitions and whatnot. And then I said, well, I think now what better way than, to do it with her and show her that, because sometimes we do things in life and people are like, you don't understand. It's like, you could understand, but I'm not doing it. But sometimes when you do it with them, so I just wanted to do it with her, let her know that she's not alone.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, you can see, you can say all you want, right? But actions kind of speak louder than words. And for kids, right, the example that they see is more than anything you can say.
Sure.
You don't understand. I do actually.
Yeah. No, and I would never tell her anything with the training, because what do I know? But that was one of the things that her parents were like, you need to like back off and not, push her and put pressure on her. I was just trying to help her out. So now I just completely just stay out of the way and just let her do her thing.
Yeah.
And she's enjoying it more. She's having a lot of fun here. She just signed up for Muay Thai.
Nice.
Because it's summertime, so she's got more time.
More time, yeah.
And
good.
So she's
good.
It's fun to watch her grow.
Yeah, we
her
have
progress.
One of the days. Was it a week that we have a summer camp? Coming up, yeah. Next Friday. There we go.
Yeah. And I asked her, I said, do you want to go? And she's like, oh, let me think about it. I was like, okay.
Responsibility, right? Yeah. Did you watch UFCs? Did you see the sport grow?
I remember the first one. There was one of the guys that we knew. I think he found the first one. His name was Zane Frazier. He had known my instructor. Our instructor's name was Cecil Peoples.
Cecil Peoples. He was an OG and referees.
Yeah, and
UFC referees.
Yeah, and he used to take us back in the day to like the Hollywood.
So that's who you would train with
Cecil. I got my black belt under Cecil and Kempo Karate back in '88. You know, it was like I really just wanted to do martial arts. You know,
I was with Cecil when I first moved to LA like 15 years ago, right? He was around, he was involved. I'm trying to remember where he was he refereeing still?
He was refereeing, and I know like back in the '90s he was doing a lot of kickboxing and
himself.
like for Peter
Cunningham,
Peter Sugarfoot Cunningham, you know, Dennis Alexio. And we would go watch these fighters, you know, and he would take us. And so, you know, I was in the martial arts then. And then, you know, the first UFC came out. And then we just watched the second one, the third one, and now to what it's evolved. Yeah. You know, it's completely different. But yeah, I always enjoyed watching them. I don't think I could ever... you know, do full contact or UFC. I don't mind hitting someone.
That's what I said too. You know, that's what I said too back in when I was just doing jiu-jitsu, and then like whatever, I was different ages and stuff. But yeah, man, it's crazy. It's crazy how the whole thing has evolved. Did you ever think it was going to be as big as it got?
I never thought it was going to be what it.
Because you know as big as it's gotten, right? The '90s, right? It was like very underground, and then it was like even more underground, right? Yeah. Bare knuckles, teeth flying out.
I think
no
after
weight
one
categories.
fight, you just go to the next one, and the next one.
3 fights in one night.
You know, and it's like, no, I never thought it was gonna become what it is today. You know, and I enjoy watching them. So, and definitely want to get back out there and see.
Coming from a traditional martial art, you know, background, and it was a good school. How did you see? How did like jiu-jitsu how did it affect you watching like Royce Gracie in those early UFCs?
Honestly, I think what attracted me to it was that it was, you know, jiu-jitsu itself at the time. Even though it was a UFC full contact, it's like this is. Something realistic. You know, you can do martial arts, you can train, you can put on safety equipment, you know, you can practice spar, whatnot. But unless you're out there actually, you know, fighting or full contact, you know, you can see what you can do. And, you know, but with jiu-jitsu, it's like, you know, it's the real deal. You know, you're either going to submit somebody, or if it's in a street fight, you know, defend yourself. And whatnot. So I think that's what did it for me is like, you know, martial arts was great. It was fun. I liked it, but I wanted something as a sport, but also as, you know, self-defense if I ever got
that works, right?
thrown down on the floor or if I had to attack somebody. And I think that's what really attracted me to the sport, to see what these individuals were doing out there. Yeah. You know, like what is this stuff? You know, let's explore it. Let's find out more about it and learn it and whatnot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's kind of just the whole thing, right? Like the Gracie family, the Gracie train. Remember the Gracie train? They would come out in like a little train. They would, the whole family, the dad and everything.
The entourage,
the entourage.
It was exciting.
It was like surreal, yeah. And he came out and fought with the gi on, right? And man, it really, of course, it changed the whole martial arts world. But it was like a lifestyle thing that got us. Well, once you start doing it, then you fall in love with the gi and stuff, you know, with the training, more so than.
What do you prefer, gi or no gi?
Man, like that's like the question, right? That gets asked a lot. And what do I prefer? I mean, right now I'm kind of training a lot of gi, you know. But like I think both, you know. I think both. Just it's nice to have both. Why you should know both. You should do both. I think maybe certain times you train one more than the other, but why limit yourself, you know? And why not do both? Why not, you know, a lot of the IBJJF tournaments, they have gi and no gi divisions, and you can do both. Why not?
Okay.
Yeah. Why limit yourself? There's no like one or the other. I think you should know it all.
Okay.
You should have some wrestling. You should have some judo. You should have some, you know, all the things. You know, all the things in your arsenal. Do you see yourself becoming a black belt?
I do. I'd like to, you know, finish what I started, and as long as I am healthy and don't hurt myself, I'd like to see how far I can go with this.
Yeah.
That's one thing, you know, I always like to do with whatever it is, you know, whether you're not going to like it, just finish it, you know.
I'd love to see Luis back on the mats. We miss each other, but I'm gonna call him again.
Yeah.
I'd love to see him on the mats again.
Yeah, we've been in contact, and you know, he'll check in and ask me how's the training going.
Yeah,
how's Alberto training?
He has the quality guy. I can see the way his brain works. You know,
and so
he's big. He's a big guy, but he's very smart.
Yeah, no, I'd like to train as much as I can. You know, I've had you know, when I took not just the injury from the first jiu-jitsu tournament, but afterwards I'd had, you know, shoulder surgery, just, you know, back injuries. I had a leg injury where I had like another minor surgery, but now I'm feeling better, you know. And that was one of the things that I had said is if I can feel good and, you know, get back on the mat, you know, I want to do it and do it all the way. So
cool.
To answer your question, yes, I see myself.
Good. Yeah, it's funny because years ago, whatever, some of the students, it's funny, it's crazy. Like the how many years have gone by. Professor Mark, he runs the Legacy West Adams. You know, he told me, like, I asked him, he was a white belt too at the time, I think, and I was like, yeah, you see yourself becoming a black belt, you know, and it was like that one little seed that kind of like, yeah, I do, you know. And then he put that, once that seed gets dropped in the brain, right? Then
Sure.
I want to see it through.
Yeah, no, I really enjoy it. You know, it's good, you know, as a sport to work out. It's not easy. But yeah.
How do you compare like karate or, you know, Kempo karate to like jiu-jitsu training?
Well, the training was a lot different. You know, I think obviously I needed more stamina for the jiu-jitsu. Not that you don't need so much in karate, but with the martial art, it was a lot of form or walking through the motions of self-defense techniques.
I guess I was asking more from a lifestyle thing. You know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and like maybe the karate, Kempo karate, like the school that you're at.
Like, give me an example of what.
You know, just the flow of coming into class and the camaraderie and you know.
Well, things were a lot different back then.
It's a different time in the world, right?
Especially with Cecil. You know, he's very strict. You know, he used to walk around with like a bamboo stick, and we'd be training, and if you weren't focused, he'd tap you on the head with it. And, you know, he was very stern. To me, as a kid, he was very intimidating. So we were all, you know, like, it was not that I needed discipline, but it was one of those places, like, if your kid needs discipline, take him with Cecil, he'll straighten you out. So it was tough, hard workouts, you know. And I was scared as a kid going to class. I used to cry all the time because I hated going to class. And but
because it was hard.
I had to get yelled at, you know, like, get your foot straight. Why aren't you paying attention? What did I tell you? And then the more it just wasn't registering. The more you know, that tone would come to me. I couldn't, you know, focus and whatnot. But eventually, it all worked out. But I remember I used to cry and tell my mom, I don't want to go to class. And
what changed it?
Just talking to him. You know, I told my mom that I didn't want to go, and then she ended up telling him, you know, John doesn't want to go to class. He's scared of you and whatnot. And so him and I had a talk, and he was just trying to say, you know, I'm trying to make you a better person. You may not see this right now and whatnot. And so after that, it just anything he had said, anything positive, you know, I would acknowledge it. But all the other noise, it would just go through one ear, not the other, knowing that he just means well.
He had good intent, yeah.
Yeah. So it was like that. But you know, as a kid, it was fun. I really enjoyed it. We used to have not pizza parties, but we used to go to like the Malibu Castle on the weekends with all the kids. We used to compete, you know. And when I say different times, you know, my dad had this big van. There's like 10 kids in the van, you know, with no seatbelts. Just roll them up with the coolers, and
It's cool.
And we'd go to the tournaments. So that was a lot of fun, you know, going to the competitions and competing and traveling.
The similar things, right?
Yeah, and then once I got older, I got into the advanced class, and then the advanced class was completely different. You know, everybody was, you know, like adults, you know, so he would treat everybody more as adults and not like little kids. So there was less of the, you know, the strict, being as strict. So that made it fun, you know, to go to the training and whatnot. But yeah, no, it was a good experience. I really enjoyed it. He helped me out a lot. You know, I ended up competing on a circuit. What was it called at the time? It's probably still around, National Black Belt League, and there was another one, NASCA, North American Sport Karate Organization.
Cool.
You know, we'd go all over. We went to like Canada, Mexico, Guatemala, and I did forums, but I mainly did point fighting. And there's one guy who's still around today. I think his name's Raymond Daniels. And we used to fight as kids when we were 15, 16 and whatnot. And so, but after my injury, I had stopped, and he had taken it to like a whole other level of you know, with what he's doing. But that was always fun, you know,
That's
competing
cool.
and challenging yourself and
being a part of a team, right? Even though it's an individual thing.
You know, it'd be nerve-wracking. You know, I'd get nervous and feel nauseous when they'd call me up, you know, like, you know, John Kallo on deck and whatnot. But the moment they said go, it just all went away.
Yeah.
You know, you're just in the zone. So that was good. That helped me out a lot, you know, dealing with, you know, your emotions and feelings and anxiety.
Stress, right?
And whatnot. And it helps you out in different ways in life. So that was always good. And, you know, but that was when I was younger, and here it's a lot different now that I'm an adult. But I really like the jiu-jitsu community. I like working out here at this facility. There's something about this gym that's got like a really nice charm to it. You know, it's not like a, and there's nothing wrong with it, but like some of these new schools, like state of the art, you know, all new mats and new everything. It's just, you know, you got the weight room, you got the tack fit room, you have different programs, different needs, you know, not just training, but you also have to recover. So there's different options for recovery with the tack fit and flow fit. You know, everybody here, they've been so welcoming, you know, even because I had came here for like a year and a half, just dropping off Andrea, my niece, you know, but everybody would say hello and whatnot. So just being in that environment and that culture, I really enjoyed being here. And when I decided that I wanted to train, you know, that welcoming was even greater with everybody. I remember seeing you a few times within that year and a half. Sometimes I'd see you across the street at the bakery. You'd always say hello.
My wife.
You'd always say hello. You didn't know me. I didn't, you know, formally introduce myself, but you would always say, you know, hello.
She gets so mad because, you know, it's a way for me to get away, you know, be close, but get away. That's why I go over there.
Yeah, but it was just, and then the more I got to know different individuals here and the training, the support, the help, you know, people try to help you out, try to help you improve with your roles, and just the camaraderie of like after class, or everybody's been so supportive and welcoming, and I really like it. I really like being here.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thank you.
Try. Yeah, good. Happy to hear that. Yeah, so you did in-house tournament, and then you did the Jiu-Jitsu World League, right?
Jiu-Jitsu World League.
How was that experience stepping into the the ring again
It
after all these years?
It was nerve wracking, you know, because I was like, you know, 14, 15 to 18 when I used to compete a lot. So, you know,
Being in a different place in life, right?
I already knew, you know, like, hey, I would tell myself, like, you've been in competitions, you've done one jiu-jitsu tournament, you know what it's like, you know, you're just going to go through that. But it was different, you know, the in-house wasn't that nerve-wracking because I had already rolled with, you know, the guys before at different gyms. I knew everybody, you know.
Yeah.
So that wasn't an issue. And not that there was an issue, but like, you know, when they call your name, like you're on deck, you start going through all the feelings and whatnot. So, but it was good. You know, I didn't have at the time, you know, Kevin was out of town. He was going to coach me. And so he was like, I'll send you messages and I'll check in on you, see how you're doing. And I was just like, I was like, hey, Coach Ben, do you mind coaching me? Because I don't have anybody in my corner. He's like, yeah, for sure. And it was nice. I could hear everybody when I was rolling. I could hear Professor Andrea. I could hear Professor Jeanette. I could hear Coach Ben. And then even I didn't know. I knew you were there, but I didn't know where you were at. And then when I was you know, in the round, I saw you, and you know, our communication was nonverbal, just eye contact, and you know, I saw you, and I was like, so it was a good feeling to have that support, you know. The outcome, you know, I didn't win. I had 2 fights. I didn't win either fight, but didn't get submitted, you know.
You're stepping into the you're moving forward, right?
So
in the journey, in the process.
It was a good experience. It let me know where I was at, you know, as far as endurance. I was dead tired from both fights, exhausted.
You did good, man. You did good.
And I was like, okay, you know, there's a lot of things to work on.
Can't believe you got him off you a couple times, like on the bottom. Like, man, you're a beast.
Yeah, it was,
threw him off you.
And
you said to stay there, you know.
Yeah, there was times when they were.
If you'd have stayed there, it would have been good.
Yeah, there's times with either fighter, you know, I could hear them telling me, you need to do this, and I'm like, I am trying, you know. They're just a lot heavier than me. You know, I was like 200. Some of the guys were like 220, 230. And, you know, strong competitors and whatnot. But, yeah, the second one was a lot different. The Jiu-Jitsu World Leagues, you know, I don't know who these competitors are, the unknown. And I didn't want to play into, let me research them and whatnot. It's like, you know what? It is who it is. Doesn't matter. I'm here for myself, test myself. Let's see how I do. You know, Coach Kevin was there that day, and
it's different energy, right, in the room.
Yeah,
like the arena, people screaming.
There was music playing, you know. There's people screaming. You can hear the other fights. You know, you don't know who you're going up against.
Yeah.
And then they call your name, you know, and you go up there, and you know, the same thing. But it was good. It was good. Same thing. 2 fights. Didn't win those 2. But I think with competition, at least for myself, the reason why I'm doing it is it lets me know what can I do to be better for myself. You know, like you train, you learn, you try different things. Some days you have good days, bad days. But in the competition, you can see where your weaknesses are or what you need to improve on or what you didn't do. You know, I take full accountability for my performance, but there was times I heard my coach, and he was like, asking me to do stuff, and I was being stubborn. Yeah. And I was like, no.
I would tell my daughter who competes a lot, you know, and it's like, yeah, winning and losing, right? And so, like, you want to win, right? But like in the big scheme of things, what is the goal, right? It's for you to be the best that you can be, right? And sometimes losing is better than winning, you know? Like, you know, give her the example, but, you know, she could armbar, you know, she's armbarring everybody, and I was like, man, like, you know, you can armbar, you know, you can do that, but that's like the comfort zone. So like you even stepping into the arena, right, is going out of your comfort zone. So you're winning just by doing that, right? Not to, you know, say it like that, but it's true. And so like trying different things that you're not, you know, maybe as good at, right? And so like those things are wins, right?
Yeah, no,
when I speak to her, you know, those are those things like doing different things that you're not so comfortable at doing under stress, right? Getting out of your comfort zone. And I think even in training, right, and doing different things, like, but then you add the stress and the energy of tournaments and stuff, right? It's a whole other thing.
As you know, I mean, you know, your adrenaline's running.
Yeah, yeah.
And all that. And so there was definitely things after the fight to look at, like, okay, I could have done this differently. You know, in the first tournament, I really couldn't escape on my back. I mean, I was able to escape off my back. So that's a win for me. My endurance, I was not as tired. I had trained a little bit more on different things to get that endurance up. So that was like another win for me. And then, you know, like I said, just going back to see how can I improve. And in the next tournament, if I win, great. But if not, am I performing better?
Yeah.
Am I making the same mistakes? Am I improving? And that's all I'd like to do. And I'd like to see how far this can go.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. When I look at myself too, like having a tournament on the horizon helped me be focused and gave me more energy to train and to train harder, to do more. And so it was a great, like, motivational thing.
Oh yeah.
It's always been stay in shape, get down on the weight, you know, and always have something have something coming up, right?
Yeah, that was the other thing. Trying to make weight, because, you know, the gi weighs a certain amount of, you know, and different people, I've talked to people and they have different strategies.
Yeah.
Some people are like, oh, I'm just going to get in the sauna and drop like 10, 15 pounds in the morning. And I was like, you know, I'd like to, not that's the way to go. It's just how I feel, my body. It's like, I just want to go in at my weight.
Yeah,
you know,
that's it. You know, especially like where you're at, like white belt, like, man, just focus on getting better at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. So that was like,
and then you're like, man, you know, that guy's like 300 pounds. Maybe I should go down a weight category.
Yeah,
and then you do it because you're like, it doesn't make sense for me to go against somebody that's 400 pounds, right?
Yeah. No, it really helped me out, especially like the last month of training was like, you know, like a strict diet.
Yeah.
Consistency in training.
Which is good for your health, good for everything, right?
Just being disciplined, you know, no bad habits, you know, to feel better. And overall, I just feel good, you know, doing a sport and working out. And, you know, because I wasn't always in the best shape. A few years ago, I'm at 200 now, but I was almost at 300 pounds a couple years ago.
How much weight have you lost so far?
About 100 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, just you know, just bad habits.
But since you started jiu-jitsu, you've lost 100 pounds?
No. I couldn't tell you how much I've lost with jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
But at least 30, 40 pounds from jiu-jitsu itself.
Yeah.
But especially like the last month for the tournament, I lost 10 pounds in that month.
Yeah.
To make weight.
You look like a different guy.
No, it was, you know, it was just bad times, just a lot of stuff going on at home.
Yeah.
And COVID and, you know, self-medicating, just started drinking alcohol and drinking more. And the weight just came on and just started eating stuff that I shouldn't eat. And I'll never forget, I went to the dentist and they were like, yeah, I think you need to go to see a specialist because my gums were swollen and bleeding. And so I went to go see the specialist and I'm like, I don't think you have, you know, gum disease. I think you need to do blood work. And so I ended up seeing my doctor and blood work. I was diabetic, type 2. And everything that came with it, just overweight, sleep apnea, swollen feet, tiredness, going through depression, all that. And so, you know, just one day at a time. And you focus on little things to get better. And now jiu-jitsu's really helped me. I did my thing, you know, to get better.
Yeah.
Like when they told me I was diabetic, it was like the next day I just stopped drinking. I was like, that was like easy for me to do. And then I was like, okay, now you're gonna eat healthy and make better decisions. Because I wanted to be able to take care of myself and feel better. So the weight started going down. They tried to give me certain medications and whatnot to help out with that. Then I just started.
Did you take it?
I did.
For the beginning?
Yeah.
You still doing it?
I do. And then I would try to do what I could. You know, I'd go to the gym, work out, get on the machines, you know, try to get healthier. And it was just difficult because both of my parents were, at the time they were alive, but they were sick. My mother had like stage 4 cancer, and my father had dementia, and we didn't want to put them, you know, in a home, so they were at home with us. And it was like it was a full-time gig. You know, we'd work, my sister and I, during the day. We had caretakers during the day, but at 6 o'clock, it was around the clock, whether it was meeting a doctor at the house for my father, because he was bedridden, he couldn't walk, couldn't talk. We had to do everything for him, make his meals, feed him, change him, bathe him. And then my mom was always like, okay, she had a chemo appointment or whatnot. So it was this 24/7 for about like 10 years.
Wow.
And
10 years.
and then COVID happened towards the end. And so that was the other thing. Like when you asked me like what happened, no training. So injury was like the first 10 years. From 30, maybe 25 to 35, I was like focusing on my career in college and whatnot. But from 35 to till last year, because my father passed away in September, we just dedicated ourselves to our parents. And so I didn't go out. I didn't have a girlfriend. I would check in with my friends from time to time. They'd call me, how you doing? Do you need anything? But I was just basically at home all day with my sister and my other sister. And we would just take care of our parents. And if I had to do it again, in a heartbeat, I wouldn't give it up for anything. Doesn't matter. It's like a selfless act. When we're kids, our parents were there for us, and to be able to take care of my parents by any means, I never thought about it like, I don't get to do anything. I don't get to go out. I don't get to work out. Because even getting away just to go walk or something, it was hard because I had to be at home taking care of them. And but that's what did it, just being so heavy and not being healthy. And how are you going to take care of somebody else when you can't take care of yourself? And so when they told me that you're diabetic, you need to like do something quick, it's not going to get better. I just decided to switch up and make life changes. And
Nice.
now my parents are resting, and it just came to the point like, I don't have to be home at 6 o'clock anymore. What am I going to do? And I was like, why don't you go back and do jiu-jitsu, and train and see what you can do. And with all the injuries, And so I like
not being 16 years old anymore.
Yeah, my body feels it. But I like being out there. I like rolling. I like learning. So yeah.
Well, respect to you. My mom took care of her dad, her mom too. And you have to have a big heart. You have to be wired a certain way, I think.
Sure.
So respect to you and your siblings too for
it
doing
was
that,
a team effort with my sister and my other sister who lives in Budapest, Hungary. But she would come over every summer. Sometimes she'd come out twice a year, and she would stay 2-3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And her husband was like, just stay with them, spend time with your parents. So it was a collaboration between. And we all helped out in different ways, maybe some more than others financially. Others were taken to appointments. Can you take Andrea to her jiu-jitsu class while I take care of, it was just around the clock, like a team effort. And, Andrea got to see a lot of that, and she'd help out feeding, my father and whatnot. And so now we're going to go, my father's from Budapest, was from Budapest, Hungary.
Oh, wow.
And we're going to go in July. And so
cool.
she's really excited. She wants to see where her grandfather was from. So we're going to try to show her as much as we can, let her know where her roots are from.
Nice.
So,
Have you been before?
I've been there many times. When I was younger, a lot more. I was there during the communist times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was a lot different. I remember seeing, different things. And then the end of communism and, the transition of Western influence. I remember I was there when they had their first McDonald's.
Wow.
And so just seeing different changes, the winds of change.
Yeah, winds have changed. The Scorpion. I put that song on for some reason.
Yeah. It's
such a 90s ballad,
Yeah, it's something like even one time when we were at the movie theater there, during communist times, they would show movies that were 2-3 years old here.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't get the latest movie.
Right.
And you'd go to a drive-in, and it was like, and like the soda, they didn't have Coca-Cola or Pepsi. It was a syrup with seltzer water, soda water. You'd make your own stuff. Just different things. And I remember going, and everyone was like, hey, can you bring me Levi's? Can you bring me, for my cousins, a poster of a Ferrari or a Cadillac, so it was, I got to see that. I got to spend time with my grandparents. Nobody spoke English, so I had to learn Hungarian on my own. which I don't speak very well. I probably sound like a very intelligent third grader. Yeah, but I know enough.
You ever speak with Ricky? Hungarian?
Sometimes, yeah,
Yeah.
Monica and
Monica,
Ricky, yeah, they talk to me, and they try as much as they can, and so yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to. It's one of the places I'd like to go to, and they had some tac fit events over there a few times, and man, it was like they had a lot. There was like a big influence, right? Big the Austrian, Hungarian kind of empire. There was you can tell it was an empire, that area.
Very pretty city. I enjoyed going there. I haven't been there in quite some time. 2006 during the FIFA World Cup. It was in Germany, but we were going to go to Budapest. I really like soccer, so we were just there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to going back and spending some time with my family and taking Andrea to go see her roots.
Awesome.
And yeah, it should be fun.
Awesome. Well, awesome to have you on the mat. Awesome to have you part of the gym and legacy. And
thank you.
I appreciate you. And
I appreciate you.
I can tell you're somebody with them from the get go. Somebody with a big heart. And yeah, man. Look forward to reaching your goals. And
okay. Well, thank
continuing on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
My pleasure.